The budget 2025 is finally here. And this is probably the happiest I've ever been in the last 3 years. In this episode, we are going to be decoding the budget 2025, customized for the middle class population of this country. We're going to be talking about why has the market been doing so bad and what is the government's response to fix the market. We're going to be talking about the changes in the tax slab and how is that going to impact you in terms of paying lesser taxes. And finally, we're going to be talking about what are those impressive sectors going forward where you can invest your money to get the best return for your buck. With that, let's begin. I'm joined here today with HNI Tax Planner, CA Nitesh Buddhadev, and HNI Financial Planner, Mr. Kirtan Shah. Welcome, gentlemen, to the Budget 2025 review. What do you guys think?
I think it's a very balanced budget. The market probably got what they were looking at. Some disappointments here and there.
Yeah.
But I think probably a 9 on 10.
What about you? What's your rating?
I would give 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I know it's a bit shocking because I think salaried class was looking for this budget since so long.
Yep.
So bang on that. The tax slab has changed. More money is given to people to spend.
Yeah.
But what they missed out.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. All right. So let's begin with what the hell has been going on in the market in the last 1 month, right? The market is bleeding. My portfolio is down by like 10, 12%. So the dream of India being one of the fastest growing economies in the world, is that still alive? What has been happening?
Oh, 100%, Sharan. I think, look, if you go back a quarter, probably the markets are down because the results have not been great. FIIs have been pulling out a lot of money because the US markets have been doing very well. So it's not largely only the India problem that's creating whatever is happening in the markets right now. But of course, there are 4 major points that markets were actually expecting to turn favorable from the budget and some actions at the RBI's end.
Okay.
First is the government capex, which is the government's expenditure. Now, if the government does not spend money, how is the GDP going to go up, right? In the budget, unfortunately, this is slightly negative for the markets because the government expenditure number for this financial year has come out at 10.1%, 10.1 lakh crore, which is lower than what the market was expecting.
Okay.
And for the next year, it has come out at 11.2 lakh crore. Now, what that does is, if the government spends less money, it is going to incentivize or it may not have enough monies for the corporates to make money, and hence the GDP may not do well, and that's slightly negative.
Can you explain that for the layman, that how does government spending directly impact company spending and how does that directly impact a common middle class man?
See, very simple. Let's say government is also a consumer of a lot of goods and services, right?
Yeah.
So the day the government decides that I want to spend money on, let's say, defense, right? That is where companies which are into manufacturing of defense will have more orders and hence a very strong financial statement and hence probably the stocks going up.
And more salaries for the people who work in those companies.
Absolutely.
So that's how that entire pyramid works.
Correct. So, but if the government decides that I want to spend less money,
how much were they expecting to spend and what are they spending?
So I'll give you a broader understanding so that people understand, because I gave this defense as a number. Over the last 11 years that this government has been in power, defense as a sector spending has actually doubled.
Okay.
Of the total spending, close to 28% of the spending has been on defense.
Wow.
Right now, which is why now you can correlate why the defense stocks went up so much.
Yeah.
Because the government was spending that kind of money and hence such large order books for the defense companies and hence the stocks went up. But if the government does not spend as much as the market is expecting, then the viral effect is absolutely negative.
Correct.
Or in the reverse order. Lower order sizes for these companies and hence lower profits and hence lower stock prices.
So what you're saying, the first reason is that the government spending has reduced, due to which the economy is not doing well.
Correct.
And second is probably the fact that inflation is so high, salaries are not increasing fast enough, taxation is so high.
Correct.
So the disposable income for the middle class Indians
Absolutely.
is shrunk.
Absolutely. So the second reason is the private consumption, right? If you and I don't have more monies in our hand,
Yeah.
how are we going to be able to spend more money?
Yeah.
And if we don't spend money, right, there are a lot of sectors which are dependent on us spending money, like say consumption.
Yeah.
If you are not going to buy clothes or shoes, right, those companies are not going to do well.
If they don't do well, they can't increase the salaries of the employees.
Absolutely.
If the employees
It's
can't
a
get high
viral
salary, they can't spend more money. So it's like a cyclical loop.
Right. So these were 2 points. Third, the market was also expecting that private consumption or private capex. So one is government capex, where the government is spending money. Second is private capex, where the private companies will spend money so that the economy revives.
So companies like Reliance and Adani.
Correct.
those kind of
Unless they
companies.
don't spend more money to build their businesses, again the same viral effect will come into picture. And the fourth was liquidity in the market. Now that's not the budget impact. That is actually RBI's job. But if you go back 10 days from today that we are recording this, RBI has already given probably 1 lakh crore of liquidity to the markets when they did something called as open market operations, OMO, and currency swaps. So RBI has done their job by providing 1 lakh crore of liquidity, which is why you see banks have actually recovered over the last 1 week. But the other 3 things where
have not been fixed yet.
So two have not, where the government capex has reduced. They've not given anything boosting for private capex, but they've actually done great things around private consumption because of the tax slab
Yeah,
that they
we will come to
tweaked,
that. Yeah.
right? That has actually worked for private consumption.
So now, before I come to you, Nitesh, we have some facts around how this country is being run, right? In terms of the income tax, 140 crore people in this country, right? But the percent of people who are actually filing taxes is about 5%, right?
True.
And filing taxes doesn't mean anything because I might file taxes and still pay zero tax. So the actual percent of people who are even paying any amount of tax is around 2.5%.
Completely agree.
Right? So this 2.5% of the population, which is about 3 crore people, is that's actually supporting the country, right? The entire tax burden of the country is with this 2-3% of people who are actually the middle class of this population.
Right.
So this has been a complaint for the last 2-3 years that we are supporting, the whole country. Farmers are also not taxed. What is happening, right? So what has the government now done to sort of remove this burden from the middle class Indians in terms of lowering their taxes? Can you please educate us on this?
Sure. It's a very important point, Sharan, because like you rightly quoted, last year return number, if I see 8 crore 9 lakh. 8 crore 9 lakh people have filed taxes. Out of that, 5 crore has shown zero taxable income.
Okay.
And only 3 crore people, which is 2.2% Indians, are paying taxes. So like you rightly said, only 2.2% people pay the taxes in terms of direct.
And in China, this is about 10%.
10%.
And
in
in
USA,
US,
it's
43%.
43%, right? So if you see that, there's a huge contrast, and only this 2.2% people are burdened with the direct tax. Of course, I think whole 145 crore people pay the indirect taxes, which is GST and all that thing.
Yeah.
But the direct taxes constitute around 55% of overall taxes, which government collects. But now, like you rightly said, the biggest announcement, which people were waiting since, I think, I would not say 2-3 years, but last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Why? Because salaried class considered amongst the highest taxpayer and the cleanest taxpayer also, because they don't get much of deduction and all that thing. The big thing change here is that the slab rate. Earlier, if you are a salaried, you are not paying income tax if your salary is 7,75,000. But now, if your salary is 12,75,000, you don't pay any tax.
Wow, that's been a big
huge
jump. Big jump. Until 12,75,000 rupees of income, I pay zero tax.
But there is a catch.
There is a catch. Always there is a catch. What is the catch?
If your income of 12 lakh rupees includes, let's say, 3 lakh rupees of short-term capital gain from equity or a mutual fund.
So I sold some stocks and I got a profit of 3 lakhs.
Within a year.
Okay.
Then 9 lakh rupees, let's say, is your salary income, and 3 lakh rupees is your short-term capital gain from stocks. Then you have to pay, Sharan, 60 to 400 rupees taxes. Why?
Okay.
Because that is excluded from this 12,75,000 because this income is charged at a special rate. Because you just pay 20% tax on your short-term capital gain on mutual fund or stocks, not like your slab rate 30% and all that thing, right? That's one thing. Even if you have, Sharan, long-term capital gain, okay, that is also not included here from equity or a mutual fund.
So if I've sold a mutual fund after 2 years and I made a 2 lakh profit, that will also be taxed even if my total income is less than 12 lakhs, 75,000?
Perfect. Why? Because on 1,25,000 there is already an exemption. So the remaining 75,000 you have to pay 12.5%.
Meaning in
tax.
the equity investment, if it's a long-term gain, the first 1.25 lakhs is exempt. So any amount greater than that, I still have to pay tax,
Right.
regardless of whether my total income is less than 12.75 lakhs or
Perfect.
not. So this is the catch, the googlies.
Googlies.
Okay, so now if I had to simplify it, now if my total income is 12.75 lakh, I don't have to pay any tax unless and otherwise if there is any other income related to direct stocks, equity mutual funds, what about debt funds?
So your debt funds is already taxed at your slab rate.
So that is already-
it. Yeah.
that is
so
included in the
only you have to
12.75.
remember the stocks and a mutual fund.
Okay, so my gold profits, real estate profit, all of that is safe if it's
Right.
within 12.75.
Because in a short term it's charged at slab rate.
Got it. Only this equity, mutual funds and stock
And
market.
stocks.
So the advice here would be that definitely don't do short-term capital, profit booking. I mean, if you're a trader, you can't avoid
course.
that. So traders are at a disadvantage here. But if you are doing this long-term investing, keep it for more than 1 year because a 1.25 lakh exemption will still save you and you will anyway pay zero tax.
Perfect.
Got it. Can you talk about the new tax slabs?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, Sharan.
And one more thing to note is that only the new tax regime has been
Perfect.
changed. Right? Old tax regime is still unchanged.
So you can say old regime is actually died.
Died.
It's killed.
Has died today on February 1st.
February
2025.
1st, 25, almost old regime is over. But I'll tell you why it's still not over. But first,
Okay.
let's talk about what has changed in slab rate.
In the new tax
In the
regime.
new tax regime, earlier it was 0 to 3 lakh rupees, no tax, which is nil slab rate. This is how we paid a tax, right, Sharan? So 0 to 4 lakh, nil. 4 lakh to 8 lakh, 5%, 8 lakh to 12 lakh, 10%, 12 to 16, 15%, 16 to 20, 20%, 20 to 24 lakh, 25%, and more than 24 lakh salary, 30%. Which means, if I tell you, everybody would save taxes.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So here people will get confused because earlier you said in the new tax regime, until 12 lakh 75,000 if you earn, zero tax. But then people might be confused. Then why are we saying 0 to 4 lakh nil and then 4 lakh to 8 lakh 5%, 8 lakh to 12 lakh 10%? Why is this coming again?
Because Sharan, let's say if your salary is 13 lakh rupee, is it that you will not pay any tax on 12 lakh 75,000? No.
Yeah.
The moment your salary crosses, let's say 12 lakh 75,000, the tax is payable as per this.
Even
slab.
1 rupee more than 12
Yeah.
lakh 75,000, I start paying tax for all of those
All
things.
of this. And
But
that's
the-
why slab is important.
But the benefit is that the slabs have moved by 1 lakh each up. So can you give a case example
For
of
sure.
how much tax I'll be able to save after the new budget changes are going to be incorporated from this
For sure.
financial year?
Yeah. So from 1st April 25, if your salary is, let's say, 12 lakh 75,000. Okay, I'm just talking about the salary. Okay. So 12 lakh 75,000 rupees, you don't pay any tax. How much you are right now paying? 83,200. So your saving is 83,200.
So it's a
that's huge.
free iPhone 17 coming up next year.
Yes. And if your salary is, let's say, 15 lakh rupees, you were paying 1 lakh 30,000 in taxes. Now you'll pay 97,500, which is tax saving of 30 to 500. Interesting is here, 20 lakh of salary, you were paying 2 lakh 78,000 of taxes. Now you'll pay 1 lakh 90 to 400, which is saving of 85,800.
Wow.
And the big change, because now your 30% tax slab is not after 15 lakh, but 24 lakh and above. Because of that, if your salary is 24 lakh 75,000, Sharan, you were paying 4 lakh 26,400,
Yeah.
but now you'll pay 3 lakh 12,000, which is tax saving of 1 lakh 14,400.
My God. This is like a free vacation by itself.
Perfect. So anything about 24 lakh 75,000, you are saving 1 lakh 14,400. So indirectly, like Kirtan was saying, everybody got something in their pocket directly.
After
due to
the
this
new
change.
budget change.
Yes.
That is some phenomenal news because
That's
guys,
huge.
now everybody will have more income hitting into your bank account every month the TDS that was deducted from your employer is going to significantly reduce. And over a period of 1 year, it is going to be savings of upwards of lakhs of rupees. So that is like a free domestic vacation given by the government. So thank you so much. But what other changes are there? I'm coming back to you, Kirtan, because I want to know how else has the government helped the middle class Indians? Is there any other tax changes that the government has done?
So there are some TCS, tax collected at source, and TDS, tax deducted at source changes that are made.
Yeah, but
the first thing that
the government has created, right? Why are they calling it such complicated terms? Can you just break it down for us? What is TCS? What is TDS?
So in very, very, very simple language, you are expected to pay tax at the end of the year, let's say, for very common janta.
For my salary.
Right.
At the end of the year, right now it's going to come. I have to file my taxes and pay the taxes.
Right. But typically what happens is most of us will not budget for taxes till the end of the year.
Yeah.
So let's say your salary is ₹1 lakh every month. You will assume that your salary is 1 lakh and you will consume that or spend that. Now you will have no savings done. And at the end of the year, now you are expected to pay 2 lakhs of tax. Where are you going to get that from? So the government always is going to be in a problem if you are expected to pay 2 lakhs, but you don't have 2 lakhs to pay, right? So these TCS and TDSs were introduced to make sure that anybody who's paying you the money, it is their responsibility to deduct some amount of money first only and give it to the government to make sure that the government has less reliability on you, that you will accumulate the entire year's tax and pay me at the end of the year, which you might not have the money to pay.
So basically the government doesn't trust the people to have enough money at the end of the year because they're like, these guys will like, spend it off partying.
Correct.
So it is the responsibility of the company to deduct this money before they send it to you as salary.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
I as the company have to pay to the government.
Correct.
So this is TDS, tax deducted at source, and TCS, tax collected at source. Give me an example of that.
Tax collected at source means that I am supposed to make payment and I am only making additional payment first only for the tax.
Can you give an example of this?
So TCS on you investing outside of the country was 20% if you did investing for more than 7 lakhs. What that means is,
In a year.
In a year. Let's say if I invest 5 lakh rupees in the US markets, right? I was not expected to pay any tax, right? But if I invest 7 lakh 10,000 rupees outside of India, right? Now, because the tax on this is at the slab rate. So suppose if I'm going to make 20% or 30% profit on this, I'm expected to pay 30% of that as tax, right? So the government does is, if you're going to invest 8 lakh rupees outside India, you will have to first pay 20% of that 8 lakh rupees as tax collected as source. So you will have to keep 20% of 8 lakhs.
So it's 1.6 lakhs.
First only as tax collected at source.
So when I'm making an investment outside India in the US market, let's say I'm investing in Nvidia stock, 8 lakhs.
Yes.
I not only give 8 lakhs to Nvidia, I also have to give 1.6 lakhs to the Indian government.
Correct.
That is what is happening.
Correct.
How is this changing?
Now, that limit from 7 lakhs has been increased to 10 lakhs.
Okay.
So now you can invest up to 10 lakhs and not pay a TCS. So TDS is when Nitesh is a company and Nitesh is making a payment to me. Nitesh will deduct some amount of money and pay to the government first only.
Yeah.
TCS is where I am doing some kind of money transaction. I am myself expected to keep some money aside for the tax purpose.
So to simplify that, Sharan, TDS is on income.
Yeah.
And TCS was in expenses. So TCS also applicable when you purchase a car. If your car is more than 10 lakh rupees, you pay 1% of TCS.
Correct.
So now Kirtan rightly said, see, government also needs money every month because they need to make salary payment and all that thing. So that's one of the reason this compliance is there, like TDS and TCS. So TCS is more cash outflow. In TDS, you get less income because on behalf of you, TDS is paid to government. It's as simple as
So
that.
this topic has been clear. Any other changes in the TCS, TDS saga?
So one is the 7 lakh limit for you to invest outside has been increased to 10 lakhs.
That is from my investments outside India.
Correct.
This will probably, does this also benefit in terms of my foreign vacations? Is this a part of it?
It is. I guess because whatever fine print I have read till now, okay. So TCS on LRS is increased. Okay.
Which will
in
include-
LRS includes everything. LRS has typical provision of $2.5 lakh remitting every year outside
Outside
India.
of the
It can be for any reason.
$250,000.
Yes.
About 2 crores.
Right. As the current exchange rate, you can say that per financial year, per person can remit this much amount outside India under LRS. So for any reason, if you are remitting, so that includes your holidays as well.
So
I
if
think
I
that's
go
what
on
you are
a
asking.
vacation to Europe, going to USA, now what will be the benefit that the government has introduced?
So if you
7
are
to 10.
Yeah, it's 7 become 10. But I think if you are buying a holiday package, still from very 1 rupee, the TCS is applicable.
Okay.
This is when I say, because the holiday package is not under the purview of LRS, because that is considered I'm buying a whole holiday package which includes my flight and my hotel stay together,
Like a package.
like a package. On that, TCS is still applicable from very 1 rupees. Still will cross check the fine print, but that's my interpretation.
How much
But
percent?
on that you pay 5% up to
5%.
7 lakh, and more than 7 lakh you pay 20%.
So if I am planning a Europe trip for me, my wife and my 2 kids, and the bill is 20 lakhs, I partner with the travel company, I pay them 20 lakhs. So I have to pay 5% for the first 7.5 lakhs,
7 lakh.
for the first 7 lakhs, and then 20%
On
the remaining 13 lakhs.
Perfect. So that's a huge cash outflow.
So that there's no benefit for
There's
that.
no benefit as far as what I have read till now. But any other thing, like he said, for an investing into stocks, into bitcoins, or you, let's say you are just booking your flight separately, then there is a hack.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
So
is
if
that?
you are booking your flight separately and your hotel separately, that will fall under LRS. So if you want to take a holiday, book your flight separately and your hotel separately. And so if, let's say, your hotel expense is up to 10 lakh, you will not pay any TCS. And if your flight is also up to 10 lakh and you book it from other person, you will not pay any TCS hack.
I think Nitesh can correct me on this, but the logic is very simple. What is LRS? LRS is sending money outside. But when you transact through a travel agent, you are making the payment in rupee domestically. But when you book a flight or book a hotel directly, you are actually making a payment outside in a foreign currency. And which is why this so-called thin line exists.
So these travel companies are going to get affected, because then how else will they make good?
Yeah, people would prefer to pay
it by themselves.
directly and in separate.
Interesting. Cool. And then what about the education loan? I think that also
That's
there is
got
some
waived
relief,
off.
right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
if I have to go abroad, I have to do my MBA in US, and the education fee is, let's say, 1.5 crore. So earlier what was happening, now what is going to happen?
So earlier there was a 5%
0.5% TCS was
on
there
this, and now it's been taken care of. So
because
there is
it's
no-
for the education
Yeah.
purpose. I think that's the
Yeah.
good intention of government.
Yeah.
Then why to deduct TCS from the loan? Anyway, I want to send my kid abroad,
Correct.
and I'm taking a loan.
Yeah.
And now out of that also I need to pay 0.50 bips as a TCS
Before.
at the time of remitting.
Correct.
So if you are taking loan from financial institution and that's for education, there is no TCS.
Specified.
That's what again, Sharan, we are right now commenting based on the whatever fine print we read, but we still need to dig digger. But yeah, this looks
Got
as
it.
we just read.
Got it. So now, Nitesh, I want you to talk about the most important question, which is one of the most popular topics when it comes to taxes. Old tax regime versus new tax regime. What is the equation looking like right now? What is better, old or new? Can you please educate us?
Right. So I think this is the most common asked question, like you rightly said, wherever we discuss about taxes. Now, as we just spoke, that I think the old regime is almost killed, but still I believe still there is a scope. And for that, we have come out with a break-even chart like every year.
You've done the mathematics.
Yes, we have done the maths. So let's say your income is 12 lakh rupees. Okay. So all the deduction and exemption you can claim is, let's say, 4,18,000 right now in this financial year. Then it's a break even. The tax you pay under new and old is same, which means if your deduction and exemption is more than 4,18,000 rupees, old is better, or otherwise new.
So basically, when you're in old tax regime, we have a lot of exemptions and deductions, such as home loan interest payment, home loan principal payment, insurance premiums, provident fund investment, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. So all of these comes under exemptions and deductions. Now, before this budget, if the sum of these exemptions and deductions was more than 4,18,000 rupees, then the old tax regime was better for you. But if it is lesser than this, then the new tax regime is better for you. But post the budget 2025, what is that new number?
That's new number is almost double. That's around 7 lakh rupees. So if your income is 12 lakh and all the deduction and exemption, which is your LTA, your HRA, your ATC, ATT deduction, like we just spoke, if it's 7 lakh, it's a break even. So you need now more than 7 lakh rupees of deduction and exemption for you to be beneficial under the old regime.
But isn't that tough to get 7 lakhs of exemptions and reductions?
It is tough at 12 lakh rupees, but let me talk about the other income level.
Let's go to the richer segment.
Richer segment.
Let's go.
So if it's a 15 lakh, right now you need 4 lakh 58,000 of deduction and exemption to break even. But that amount changes to 5 lakh 93,750. This is still achievable. If you have HRA, if you have housing loan, this is achievable at 15 lakh salary.
It reduced with the...
No, because there is a change in a tax slab in such a manner, because now there is a more tax slabs. Then earlier there were 4 to 5.
So it's
now
a
there's
mathematical...
It's a mathematical thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So if your salary is 20 lakh rupees, right now you need 4 lakh 83,000 of deduction and exemption to break even. That has increased to 7 lakh 58,333.
Okay.
If your salary is 24 lakh rupees, Sharan, you needed again same amount 4 lakh 83,000 to break even. That has doubled almost 8 lakh 37,500. And lastly, because the tax slab is 30% and higher after 24 lakh, if you are a salaried, it's 24 lakh 75,000. So if your salary, and this is the final one, if your salary is 24 lakh 75,000, you right now need 4 lakh 83,000 for break even. But that is after 1st April 25, it's 8 lakh 50,000, which means if it's more than 8 lakh 50,000, old is beneficial. If it's lesser than that, new is beneficial. The whole lot of chunk would move to new regime.
So if I do take a simple example of somebody living in Bangalore or Mumbai, let's take HRA for example.
Right.
Let us say I'm paying 50,000 monthly rent.
Right.
So that itself becomes 6 lakhs of an exemption. So then I need another 2.5 lakhs of exemption reduction from other things like Provident Fund and all of that. Shouldn't it be that difficult?
Yeah, you have LTA, you have other allowances like your food coupons and all that thing. So that's what I'm saying. It's still relevant for a certain class of people, a certain income level, I would say.
We'll say upper middle class.
Upper middle class and all that thing. So it's still relevant. But each needs to do this math, which we have done for them.
But I think the government's intention is clear that they want to kill the old regime soon, because year after year, new regime is becoming better and better compared to the old regime.
True.
So Kirtan, now let's talk about, we've talked about tax savings, right? That is usually, the talked about topic when you talk about budget.
Yeah.
But from an avid investor point of view, who's looking to make some long-term investment bets, what are those sectors which I should be focusing on based on the budget 2025?
I think the biggest sector to benefit, in my opinion, is going to be consumption. For 2-3 reasons.
What is consumption?
Consumption can be discretionary, non-discretionary. Discretionary means you will have to spend this money. You have no other option.
Like toothpaste.
Yeah.
Your bread and butter.
Your bread and butter.
Okay.
Non-discretionary is like auto. That you might want to if you have the money.
Auto rickshaw? No. What is
Two-wheelers,
car? Okay,
two-wheelers are full.
Fine. Buying a car, buying a two-wheeler, fine.
So I think both of these segments will benefit. First, of course, is because the budget gave a lot of boost to consumption. But before that also, I think it's important that how is this sector positioned going in the budget. Let's say if the market was expecting that consumption is going to get a huge boost, the sector would have already ran up. But if you look at consumption as a sector, the last 1 year returns are minus 20%. Which means the market was already not very happy because the consumption was not happening.
Meaning people are not spending like they used to.
Correct. And which is why the stocks were down 20%. Right? The market did not enter in the budget from a consumption sector standpoint that they are going to get any huge relief from the budget. So first, going in the budget, consumption as a sector was not very convinced that they are going to get something. Which is another big reason, because if your positioning is bad and you get something positive, that works out very well for the sector. That's one point. Now, what did the sector actually get so that the short covering or probably the new investment will actually go in the sector? Consumption has been given a huge boost in the sector.
So basically, people will be able to save on an average if somebody is making upwards of 15 lakhs per annum, 20 lakhs per annum, this person is going to have an additional 50,000 rupees, 1 lakh coming into their pocket
This
every year.
number is 70,000 to 1.1 lakh. So if your income is anywhere between 12 lakhs to 25 lakhs, which are the brackets within which the discussion is happening, your tax saving is anywhere between 70,000 to 1.1 lakh.
So I'm going to spend more because if I have more money,
Absolutely.
I will feel like spending more. So this is a boost for consumption.
It's a boost for consumption, right? And because, like I said, the positioning of the sector was already so bad, and now if somebody is going to have 70,000 to 1.1 lakh of tax saved, that is going to give a lot of boost to consumption, both discretionary and non-discretionary, right? So you will have sectors probably like the fashion and retail, footwear, quick service restaurant, jewelry, auto, and FMCG in general. I think this sector probably will end up doing very well.
Yeah.
Because people will have more disposable income to spend,
Yeah.
and hence these sectors should end up doing very well. So I think the best sector that probably, in my opinion, comes out from the budget is definitely consumption.
Interesting. Anything else apart from consumption?
A lot of other sectors. I think the second sector that you probably might want to look at is infra.
Okay.
Look, infra's always been the best sector in terms of getting a large allocation from the budget in general.
Because we're a developing economy.
Correct,
We need
absolutely.
infrastructure to
But I think 3-4 points that panned out in the budget importantly were first public-private partnerships, which you call as the PPPs. I think
where the government is partnering with the public-private company.
Correct, right? So the more the spend that the government will do, partnering with the private companies, right? It is going to benefit all private companies which are in the infra space. Now, she made a very interesting statement saying that each infra-related ministry has to present a 3-year pipeline on PPP projects, which means everybody who's a part of infrastructure in the ministry will come up with a 3-year plan on where do I want to spend money on infrastructure using the private players.
Got it.
Right. Second, the urban challenge fund that they said that they'll come up with a 1 lakh crore budget for redevelopment of cities.
Now, what is this urban challenge fund?
So a lot of urban cities in India are now facing challenges. This may not be the most appropriate answer to give you, but still, do you see entire Bombay is dug up?
Yeah.
Right. The entire Bombay is dug up because they are probably doing something around pipeline.
Correct.
Across the city. Now, a lot of these urban cities in India need a lot of redevelopment, right? A 1 lakh crore fund, additional 1 lakh crore fund is going to get deployed to make sure that money is spent in revitalizing or redeveloping the urban cities of the country.
Okay.
Right?
So basically to improve the infrastructure in the cities.
Yes.
So Bangalore traffic, Mumbai traffic, Delhi pollution, all that will get fixed now.
If it's
I'm not
implemented.
Sure. I'm not sure.
1 lakh crore is a lot of money.
I'm not sure if it's going to get
It's all
fixed.
our money, hard-earned money just being given.
I'm not sure if it's going to get fixed in that sense because, look, this might look funny, but at the same time, we are saying that non-discretionary consumption is going to go up and people will have more money to buy automobile, right?
Correct.
Now, if more and more automobile come on the road, you have enough. You have only one bit of road that you can make, right?
Yeah.
You will then have to go the China way to build bridge over bridge to take care of this problem that might come across. But in general, let's say the urban infrastructure companies are going to do well because the urban redevelopment is going to get additional 1 lakh crore rupees to
So
spend
basically companies which are executing these infrastructure projects
within
right?
urban cities will benefit.
Like your L&T.
Will benefit.
So they're going to start working 90 hours a week now. So this is going to happen then with this 1 lakh crore. Fantastic.
That depends whether it's the CXO working or people on the
I
ground.
think everybody will be working. And then what is this last thing?
I think the third point that they raised was a nuclear energy mission. Look, we've been hearing how the government is actually focusing a lot on clean energy, spending a lot of money around
Wind energy, solar energy.
and all of that. Now they're planning to focus on being able to generate 100 gigawatts by 2047. That's huge.
Of nuclear energy.
Of nuclear energy.
Okay.
Right? So they are again going to spend this money, which is going to benefit indirectly the energy sector, but specifically the nuclear energy sector.
Interesting.
And the last thing that they did was they modified the Udan project.
What is that Udan project?
So they are spending a lot of money to come up with green airports and all of that to boost tourism.
Correct.
Right? So the second derivative effect is going to be tourism, but the first effect is they're going to launch 120 new destinations, greenfield airports. Right?
Got it.
So this probably, again, like I said, second order derivative is travel and tourism, because this is also going to be able to boost tourism in the country,
Yeah.
but largely infra, right?
Interesting.
So infra is a play and tourism is a play here.
Got it.
So first is consumption, second is infra and tourism.
So consumption, infra, and tourism.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sharan, I want to ask you one question.
Okay, ask me.
Tell me we are in coalition government without telling we are in coalition government.
I don't know how to say that. Why?
You just-
Okay. You're saying because of the benefits which have been given to certain states, there is something happening behind the scenes.
Bihar.
So you just
Bihar.
have to see how many times the name Bihar
Bihar has
is there
been
in the
taken.
speech. You'll come to know we are in coalition government.
Without saying
This is
they are
just
in the
on
coalition
lighter
government. Because Bihar was mentioned at least 4 to 5 times. And I think one interesting thing was the Makhana thing.
Makhana.
And
They are going to have Makhana board.
yeah, when recently Nikhil Kamath also was talking about Makhana being a very big opportunity to build a global brand because it's becoming a very viral snack.
Yeah.
So what is this Bihar connection with Makhana? What is this?
So I think they are producing more of Makhanas. That's what my limited knowledge says that. So they want to promote that agriculture, because agriculture was one of the thing. We, India, in next 2 years want to be like pulses, want to grow pulses also. So I think agriculture has this kind of, I would say, focus in this budget. And that's why you see that Makhana impact.
I like it.
I think there were 3 major statements on Bihar that were made
Yeah.
in the entire speech.
And then something was talked about the toy industry also. Why is that important?
So now, see, because there are multiple things here, right? Today, the largest toy manufacturer is China. The biggest thing, we don't even need to deliberate into this. Everybody hearing us knows what we are talking about. They really want to kill import from China in whichever way they can, right? I'm not sure if this is anything to look at, but Reliance made a very large acquisition
Amazing.
in the toy business.
That is the first thing that came to my mind. So some kind of insider partnership. But I never thought toys, how big can it be?
It's a huge market.
Yeah?
It's a huge market. I may not be able to put a number to that right now, but toy import and toy business is a huge market, and very specifically, it's an unorganized market.
Correct.
How many players outside of Hemleys do you know of in this space?
I think, what is that?
Now that you have to think, we don't know, right?
This US company, I forget what it is.
So the point is, this is a very large unorganized market. Too much of money in this space is non-white, right? And if this market now has to become big, imports have to reduce, the economy has to become white. I think there is a lot of concentration that the government would want to do. And specifically now that players like Reliance have actually come in,
Yeah.
you probably might want to. Now look at, because we are talking about China, look what they are doing also to promote the clean tech side of the business. What they've done is they've actually increased the basics custom duty on interactive flat panel display
Oh, wow.
from 10% to 20% so that import reduces. And at the same time, they've increased that. And at the same time, they've reduced the basics custom duty on open cell so that you import cell and make those panels here.
Okay. So they're helping with the backward integration.
Absolutely.
Make that more easier from a cost point of view. So they're
So-
incentivizing you to get the raw material and you make it here.
Absolutely. So make in India, China plus one, manufacture in India are big themes that they really want to play. It's not only the toy industry. If I remember, she spoke about footwear and leather.
Correct.
Right? So I think there is so much of emphasis on make in India, manufacture here,
Yeah.
China plus one.
So all of this is consumption only, no?
All of this is consumption and manufacturing.
Yeah.
So the broader thing is consumption, manufacturing, and at the same time you are saying clean energy, because there is so much of work done around solar,
Yeah.
batteries. Because if I can read through a couple of things that they did here. So on the cobalt powder and waste or scrap of lithium ion battery or lead, zinc, and 12 other such critical minerals were exempted from basic custom duty.
This is for the battery.
Yes,
Yeah.
you had another
E-vehicles.
35 additional goods that are a part of EV manufacturing battery, and 28 are another which are a part of mobile phone battery manufacturing were also added to the exempted capital goods.
So iPhones will get cheaper.
They are actually trying to make sure that you come here and manufacture
Manufacture.
mobiles here. See, because currently what is happening is for the largest part of whatever we've been discussing, though it is written made in India, it's actually assembled in India. The parts are made somewhere outside.
Correct.
You bring them to India and you just assemble that and you just name that as
Made in India, you're right then.
But all of these things are probably done so that if you're looking at doing EV and anything in the EV space manufacturing or the mobile manufacturing, they are trying to make sure that we will allow you to import raw material at either low customs duty or no customs duty, come here and produce in India. Manufacture in India is the larger thing.
And another interesting point, Sharan, here is that have you visited Kumbh?
Kumbh Mela.
Kumbh Mela.
I have not visited. You gone?
No, I'm planning to go. But
That once in 142 years. That one.
144 years.
144
But
years.
government wants to do something every year. And not Kumbh Mela, of course. What they said, heal in India.
What?
Heal in India.
that was my
H-E-A-L,
In India.
right.
Okay.
Why they are saying that? Spirituality. They want to promote and focus on spiritual tourism in India. So they just don't want people to come once in a 5 years or 12 years for Kumbh Mela. They want more and more people to come to India for their spiritual, their Ayurveda and all these things also. And that's why that's another thing. Of course, I need to read the fine print, but that looks very interesting.
I
Right?
think I'll give you some data around
Right.
this. So while we spoke about infra, while we spoke about consumption and we spoke about manufacturing, clean tech and all of that, tourism is huge, right? So we spoke about the Udan scheme, 120 new destinations and 4 crore more passengers that they are expecting. Government is also looking at developing, like Kumbh Mela, 50 tourist destinations to promote tourism, and that will also help employment. He spoke about healing India as a concept. Medical tourism can become big, right? So you will attract a lot of people. I don't know if you know of people in the US, but I know so many of my cousins, specifically for their dental treatment, they will actually fly down to India.
Because it's cheaper, the whole trip is cheaper.
The whole trip is probably 1/10 of the cost, even flying, staying here and getting yourself cleaned up, right? So Heal in India is also not only going to benefit tourism, but it's going to benefit hospitals big time.
Whole healthcare also, right?
The entire healthcare industry and specifically hospitals will benefit big time here.
So this is also an interesting sector
Absolutely.
from a growth point of view.
Absolutely. So you look at hospitals, you look at travel and tourism, because the government's clear focus has been on travel and tourism for the last 3-4 years that we've been monitoring.
So Nitesh, finally coming back to you to close this discussion.
Sure.
What can I expect next? Is there something which is like an after credit scene in this budget which I'm yet to discover?
You have to block your calendar for next week. Why?
Okay.
Because you have to again invite us. Because government is going to introduce new income tax bill in next week.
What does that mean?
Now, of course, you don't expect more exemption, more deduction and any slab change. But in this new income tax bill, they're going to simplify income tax and they will have ease of filing written. Then I think the whole filing system like ITR 1, ITR 2 might get revamped. Also, few of the penalties might get reduced. So what I heard from Sitharaman, ma'am, FM, she said that at least half of the provisions would get disappear. Half of the things would be eliminated from income tax, mainly related to this compliance part of things.
So basically the boring stuff will get reduced.
And the compliance will be eased out and the scrutiny would be less and all that thing that she is promising. So let's see next week.
Yeah, because she definitely made a statement saying that we want to follow a culture where we trust you, and if you break our trust, we will.
I like this. I like this. This is like the relationship model, right? You trust us, and then we both grow together. All right, guys. I think this was a fantastic discussion on the budget 2025. We tried our level best to simplify it as much as possible. Thank you, Kirtan Shah, and thank you, CA Nitesh, for sharing us your valuable time to go through the nitty-gritty details of the budget for the common man so that you know what to do with your hard-earned money. On that note, guys, I'll see you in the next one.